Councilman DeLong is here, and we are going to discuss the two propositions that are on the California ballot.
Well, Councilman DeLong and running for the 47th Congressional District. Let's not leave that out.
Let's not leave that out,
Okay.
because that is the most important thing, because Congress
It's
is
calling.
where you want to be, right?
Congress is calling.
Feels good. Okay, let's talk about the first one. The first one is about term limits. It's Proposition 28. And what they wanted, what the proposition is designed to do is, it's supposed to be a reduction in time, but what it does, it allows a total of 12 years. But that means that you can serve 12 years in either house, whereas right now the total is 14 years, and you can serve 6 in the Assembly max and 8
That's
in
correct.
the
In the
Senate.
Yes.
So what do you think? Is it a good idea?
You know, well, actually, I'm not sure. I mean, let's look at term limits. In fact, as you know, I had a conference call last night. We had over 7,500 people.
I was listening to it.
Great. Thank you for dialing in. We had 7,500 people on the call, and somebody asked the question if I would support federal term limits, so for members of Congress, so both the House of Representatives and the Senate. And here's my answer. First of all, on a local level, I'm a local elected official, as you know, here in Long Beach. I think term limits are great. I do. I support them. I think if you can't get it all done in 8 years, really, you need to move on and go do something else.
Okay.
I know that...
And that'd be 8 years in the Senate.
well,
in
I'm
the
just saying.
California Senate.
I'm saying in Long Beach,
Right.
I agree with the 2 4-year terms.
Okay.
So I'm a big supporter of term limits in the city of Long Beach. I can tell you at the federal level that one of the things that President Dwight Eisenhower talked about in his memoirs, if there's one thing he could change, it would be term limits for members of Congress in both the House and the Senate. And I think Dwight was a very good president.
And how would he change them?
So now he would change them. Gosh, I don't remember exactly. I want to say it was like no more than 8 or 10 years,
Okay.
as I recall.
Okay.
So now let's go to the state level. Well, yeah, I can tell you, talking to people like, for example, Mayor Foster, who I have a lot of respect for, Bob thinks that term limits have been bad for Californians. That we actually have a worse state legislature today because of term limits than we could have. And I have a lot of respect for Bob's opinion. But I can tell you, overall, I've never been a congressman.
Right.
I've never been a state senator or a state assembly member. So I don't know if term limits are good or bad. But I can tell you at a local official level where I have extensive experience, term limits are great.
Well, I've never really understood why term limits are a problem, because generally, if someone gets elected in, that's democracy in action. But at the same time,
I mean, why have term limits?
Yeah, why have them? I mean, if they get voted in over and over again, what's the
because
point?
the argument is, as an incumbent, you have an advantage.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
And it can be pretty significant. So if you want to run for an office, say city council, right? I'm going to be gone, and it will be easier for you to win that seat without me there running against some other members of the community. You'll have a better shot than running against an incumbent. So I think that's what term limits does, is it allows you to have turnover. It allows you to have new ideas, fresh blood, creative people.
But one of the arguments I heard, especially for Long Beach City Council, is that when you become a new council member, there's a learning curve, and that can take 1 to 2 years depending on that person.
Well, depending on that person is your answer. For example, I don't want to say who it was, but one of my colleagues, when I first got there and the mayor appointed me to chair the Budget Oversight Committee, they said, well, gosh, it's really going to take you a long time. I have an extensive business background, been a CFO of a company. I mean, I understand numbers. It didn't take me very long at all. I figured it out in a month or 2.
Okay.
So I just think it depends on your nature.
And what about dealing with your constituents? I mean, I don't think that everybody necessarily knows how to reach out. I mean, you do get run through your paces with all the door knocking in order to get elected, right?
Sure, you do.
Is that
yep, absolutely
training ground right
That's
there?
right. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. There certainly is a value to institutional knowledge, right? And I think that's your point. I mean, I know more about the city and the departments and how things work and who are the opinion shapers in the community and which community associations that I can rely on for giving me good advice about, that they build consensus versus which ones say that something's in consensus and maybe there's not consensus within the community. So yes, you're right. There is a huge value to institutional knowledge. But
Okay.
I also think there's value for change. Let's get rid of the old people and let's bring in new people.
Some fresh blood.
Exactly. I think I've done a great job since I've been there, but I can't say that the next person isn't going to come in with some fresh ideas and take it to the next level that I wouldn't have.
All right. Okay, we'll be back.